pretty awesomely so. Listen, sorry about that. If I blew out your eardrums this morning, it's because I just didn't like it that much. But, man, it was so fun to watch the Diamondbacks play. I know baseball isn't, again, the most popular, but I love baseball. Absolutely love it. And yeah, the Diamondbacks started off 2-2. You would like to see them go 3-1, especially at home, to start the 2025 season. But it was nice to have a little controversy come out of that. And it was already blaming Torey Lovullo for all the Diamondbacks issues. I got to say this. It was so fun to have baseball back. And for the people in my chat that were watching the Suns this weekend but didn't watch the Diamondbacks, even in their losses, you can tell this team's going to be special. You can tell. I'm trying to warn you now. You don't want to be seen as a bandwagon fan. You don't want to be seen as a fair weather, someone that jumps on when it's time. You better jump on this team. Because the Zach Gallen thing in the opening day, that was tough. They lost. Whatever. Baseball is so interesting because there's nothing that gets me more pissed off than when the Diamondbacks lose. But when the Cardinals and the Suns lose, I'm like, there's another game next week. Maybe not so much with football, but definitely with basketball. And it's like, there's 162 games in baseball. Guys are just getting ready for the season that's ahead. You know, let's talk about this. First off, if the Diamondbacks are going to get contributions from Alek Thomas like they did all weekend long, if Eugenio Suarez is going to play 75% of what he's been playing like over the first series, if Corbin Carroll continues to, figure it out and become that next superstardom in baseball, and you look at this lineup, man, the sky's the limit for this team. I was talking to a couple of buddies that, watch a ton of baseball as well. And one of them was like, start Jordan Lawler. Move Ketel Marte to the DH and put Jordan Lawler at second base. And it was probably largely tongue-in-cheek, but it's like, you can't do that. Ketel Marte is an A-plus defender. And the one thing this team has had issues with over the first 4 games is defense a little bit. So it was a ton of fun to watch this team. Their ability to hit the long ball, get on base, and their starting pitching outside of Zach Gallen has really delivered. And today we get a showdown in the Bronx where Corbin Burnes is going to go up against a red-hot Yankees lineup. And, there's a lot of this conversation about the torpedo bats. For those of you that don't know, basically what has happened in baseball is the Yankees have came up with a new way to cheat. No, I'm just kidding. The Yankees have came up with a new way of playing baseball. And obviously the Diamondbacks don't play until tomorrow, so I got a little ahead of myself there. But there's been a lot of complaining about this new torpedo bat, where basically the Yankees hired some MIT nerd to construct a new baseball bat. So instead of fixing players' swings or modifying how they swing the bat, they instead modified the bat for the player, taking pieces of wood from one spot of the bat and putting it in to the quote-unquote sweet spot of the bat. And people love it, like me, or they hate it. There's really no in-between. First off, it's completely legal. Everyone else can do the same thing, and you're going to be okay with it when your team starts doing it. But what I will say is, why would you want to ban it? It's good for baseball. It's not steroids. No one's dying off of this or ruining their body because of this. It is a bat that is constructed for the batter to be able to hit the ball further. And that's great for baseball. Home runs are awesome. Chicks dig the long ball. But for the, people that just want the hand wringing or being upset, first off, your team's going to do it, and then you'll end up shutting up about it. But what do you want to do? You want to get rid of football gloves too? What about cleats? What do you want to get rid of? In basketball, what do you want to do? You want to get rid of the arm sleeve? You want to get rid of basketball shoes? Like, you don't get to just ban something because you don't like it. Perfectly legal. Everyone can do it. And baseball has always been about outsmarting your opponent. Being one step ahead of everyone. Moneyball A's all the way up to torpedo bats Yankees. And guess what? Just like how everyone copied the Moneyball A's for a little bit there, the Diamondbacks are still doing it. Everyone is going to be having the torpedo bats soon. And I love it. I think it's great for baseball. I think it's awesome. I think the way it looks is funky and fun and another thing to talk about. I mean, what's the difference between football gloves, the ones that these NFL players are wearing, which are just absolutely, it feels like they should be illegal. The ability to catch footballs, better than without gloves on. Like, what's the difference? The bat is allowing them to hit the ball further if they hit it in the sweet spot. And I'm assuming the trade-off would be if you don't hit that sweet spot, which would be more likely to happen than not, you're likely weakly hitting a ground ball. There's a trade-off here. You don't just get to hit a home run every single time. I think it's just complaining from the baseball purists that don't like that the Yankees were the ones that figured it out first. And credit to them. And I can't wait to see the Diamondbacks have their torpedo bats soon because it's going to happen. But all the pearl clutching over torpedo bats, they're not hiding they're not hiding anything. It's not like the Astros hitting a trash can in the dugout. I mean, it's crazy. And I see my guy Aaron in the chat. The bat adds extra force, which is a non-human element. So, football gloves also add a non-human element called stickiness. Humans don't have sticky hands. You're allowed to use them. So, I'm just saying, all gloves still don't work if Warriors don't have the grip strength. Well, first off, that's not necessarily true. And secondly, the bats don't usually work unless you hit the ball with it. You still have to make contact with it. You don't just get a home run by standing up there holding a torpedo bat. And then finally, what I really want to dig into before I'm going to get grilled, I'm sure, for the torpedo bats thing. There is this argument already of Diamondback fans blaming Torey Lovullo for the Diamondbacks either winning or the Diamondbacks either losing. Ultimately, at the end of the day, the Diamondbacks won. Joe Mantiply in the 8th inning, when it's a one-run game, you're throwing out, it feels like you're just throwing away the game. When Justin Martinez is in the pen, when A.J. Puck is in there, you could have established more of a presence on the mound. It felt like, in a way, Torey Lovullo was just giving up on the game. And then there's the issue of who was starting, who wasn't starting to start the game. I don't like either that Gabriel Moreno has already had 2 off days, with an off day coming up, that being today. I don't like that Alek Thomas isn't getting consistent at-bats in center field, although Torey makes a good point. He did pull his hamstring last year. Maybe you don't want to just throw guys out there. But here's the thing that I think is really naive. Diamondbacks fans who are blaming Torey Lovullo for everything. And here's my point by that. I say it like this. Torey Lovullo has never been an X's and O's manager. I think the biggest gripe we've had with Torey is his ability to manage the bullpen and sometimes in-game decisions and the lineup. But I think what has been true for a long time now is the proverbial manager of this team is Mike Hazen and the front office. I think Torey Lovullo has little to none say about the lineup and how the team is constructed on the field. Outside of bullpen and some obvious substitution changes that sometimes he does get wrong too, but let's not act like he wasn't pushing all the right buttons for the World Series run. Ryan Thompson, Kevin Ginkel, Paul Sewald, he managed that bullpen pretty freaking well. He ran out a bullpen game in Game 4 of the NLCS, and they won. But I think largely the gripes that Diamondback fans and myself either had or still have for Torey Lovullo is thinking that he's the one calling the shots. I think it is incredibly naive to think that Torey Lovullo is the one calling all the shots. I think this is clearly a Mike Hazen run team. I think Torey Lovullo, for better or for worse, is not the head honcho of this team. This team is, for more or less, being ran by a computer. Torey Lovullo's job is building relationships, is being that connector, and players love that, and I think that's largely why he has had a job with the Diamondbacks for so long. The players love him, he defends his guys, and they love playing for him. And there's a lot of that goes very far. But sometimes you take the good with the bad. And I think it is very easy to blame the skipper for the team's mishaps when I think Torey is just the fall guy. And if you have issues with the team, it's Mike Hazen and the computer of the front office. And I got to be honest with you, for the most part, they push all the right buttons in the front office. So just blaming Torey to blame Torey, I think is a little lazy when it comes to who has an off day and who's starting here and losing the DH spot in the middle of the game. I think all of that is a plan that comes from the front office and not necessarily from Torey Lovullo. I don't think that's his lane. His lane, to me, is and always has been building relationships and fostering those with his players. And in his defense, he's pretty damn good at it.